You are welcome to yet another episode of HN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show, where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. In the world of American justice where prosecutors are trusted to wield immense power with fairness and integrity, there are times when the system itself shows us just how flawed that ideal can be. The recent firing of Maurene Comey, yes, the same Comey who led the charge against Sean Diddy Combs with sensational RICO and Mann Act accusations, sent shockwaves across the legal community and the American public alike. With no official reason stated, her dismissal appeared sudden, but to many, it was a long time coming. After all, how long can a system shield prosecutors who misuse their authority? How long can it protect those who stretch laws like the RICO statute and the Mann Act into racially weaponized tools? Diddy's supporters saw it. The public saw it. And more importantly, R. Kelly's supporters remember it vividly. Because they've lived through it. Let's be clear, this isn't just about Diddy. The ripple effects of the injustice that prosecutors like Comey created extend to R. Kelly's case. Arguably the original blueprint for what many believe was an orchestrated miscarriage of justice. R. Kelly's prosecution didn't just mirror the Diddy indictment. It paved the road for it. So when Comey was removed, it was more than just news. It was a signal. A tremor in a shaky foundation that may finally be beginning to crack. For R. Kelly's supporters, Maurene Comey's firing has ignited a renewed call to action, that those who brought prejudicial and racially motivated charges against Kelly, those who shaped his indictment through a similarly manipulative misuse of the RICO statute and the Mann Act, should face the same consequences. Not for revenge, but for justice. And frankly, it's long overdue. Let's take a step back. The very same tools that prosecutors used against Diddy. That's the RICO and the Mann Act, were the cornerstones of R. Kelly's charges. These laws, originally designed to target organized crime and genuine trafficking, were reinterpreted to fit narratives that had little to do with justice and everything to do with spectacle. The Mann Act, which was passed over a century ago, has a long and ugly history. One rooted in racism and the moral policing of black men. As we have mentioned before, it was first weaponized against black boxer Jack Johnson in 1912 for relationships with white women, and it continues to bear the stain of selective enforcement. In R. Kelly's case, this outdated statute was revived, like a ghost from a dark past, to paint him as a predator based not on the strength of physical evidence, but on a carefully constructed narrative. A narrative many believe was rooted more in public outrage and racial stereotypes than in any fair application of the law. And then there's RICO, the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. Meant to break the back of mafia families, drug cartels and white-collar fraud empires. Not music tours. Not artist entourages. Not the chaotic and often informal operations of life on the road. But in Kelly's case, RICO was stretched so far beyond its intent that it bordered on absurdity. The prosecution argued that his assistants, security and drivers formed a criminal enterprise simply because they carried out their roles in support of a music career. And that somehow any misconduct, even consensual, was part of this imaginary illegal enterprise. This is the same logic Comey and her team would later attempt to apply to Diddy. Comey's reckless use of these laws against the black entertainer didn't just raise eyebrows. It drew outrage. Diddy's indictment fell apart and is widely criticized as flimsy and opportunistic. The charges didn't stick. And the public could see it for what it was, a legal overreach rooted more in optics than in facts. And now she's gone. But for R. Kelly's supporters, the question remains, why are the prosecutors who targeted him with the same tactics still holding their jobs? Why haven't they been scrutinized for their actions? Actions that many see as racially charged, legally questionable and ethically corrupt. Why was Maurene Comey removed, while those who engineered R. Kelly's downfall walked free, untouched, unchallenged and even celebrated? This isn't just speculation. The concerns about racial bias in R. Kelly's case weren't invented by fans. They were echoed by legal analysts, Historians and human rights advocates who have long warned of the dangers of prosecutorial discretion being wielded unevenly along racial lines. Even within the courtroom, red flags were raised. Evidence allowed in under questionable circumstances. Immunity deals handed to accusers. Judicial decisions that seemed to lean heavily in the government's favor. The pattern was clear to anyone willing to look beyond the headlines. But while Diddy's case collapsed under its own weight, R. Kelly's case was rammed through and pushed by prosecutors who were just as aggressive, just as biased, and arguably just as unfit to hold their positions. So now, in light of Comey's removal, the demand is simple. Let the same standards apply to those who unfairly targeted R. Kelly. If Comey's tactics warranted her firing, then so do theirs. Because justice isn't selective. Accountability shouldn't be reserved for only a single failure. It should apply across the board. The public cannot forget that the prosecution of R. Kelly wasn't conducted in a vacuum. It followed the same pattern we saw with Diddy, only earlier and with far more devastating consequences. The government's use of RICO and the Mann Act in these cases wasn't just about the law. It was about power. About sending a message. About making examples out of black men in entertainment. And in R. Kelly's case, that message came with a decades-long sentence and a legacy smeared in ways that no amount of facts or legal correction can fully undo. But perhaps there's still a window. A chance not for undoing the past but for correcting the present. By demanding the dismissal of the prosecutors who shaped this unjust case, we are not only seeking accountability. We are sending a message of our own. That racial bias disguised as law will no longer go unnoticed. That no one is above consequences. Not even those behind the bench or in the prosecution's chair. R. Kelly's fans are not asking for favoritism. They are asking for fairness. If Maurene Comey's firing meant something, if it was more than just bureaucratic reshuffling, then let it be the first step. Let it be a precedent. Because it's time the system started cleaning house. This isn't only about R. Kelly. It's about every person who watched this trial and wondered if justice was ever truly blind. Or that is simply looking the other way. Let justice be real. Let accountability be complete. And let those who prosecuted R. Kelly face the same scrutiny that just ended Maurene Comey's career. That is all we had for you today on HN What's Your Say? To keep updated whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now. Also remember to hit the bell icon and enable notifications. And feel free to share your opinions with us in the comment section below, and let us know if you would like us to publish your views in our next release. We value all our subscribers' opinions.